The title came from a teacher's assignment that happens in the book, where they have to go to an assisted living home and talk to the people who've been around for a while and ask them questions about their hometown. It's a project about discovering your hometown. The first thing I'm going to read is the backstory. You need to know two backstories to really understand the book. The first one we don't need right now. The second one you do need. And then I'll read a part of a chapter of the book. And once again, the book is Questions by Mike Anderson. Backstory number 2. One day, Josh lay in his crib, staring at the ceiling and babbling. He turned his head to face the large, leafy philodendron sitting on the table next to him. He continued to babble, but his gagas and goo-goos were aimed directly at the plant and were broken into segments that sounded like conversation. "Look at Josh," his mother had remarked. "He's talking to the plant." She giggled. "Well, I hope the plant understands him better than I do." Mr. Jones pulled his briefcase sideways off the table. "Gotta go. See you tonight." Out the door and climbed into the new black Pontiac parked in the gravel driveway. With the spin of the tires, he was gone, leaving Mrs. Jones watching her young son talking to the philodendron. Josh would babble to the plant most of his waking hours, ignoring his parents when they entered his room. Only when he was gently prodded or picked up would he offer his shiny brown eyes to him and grace him with a smile. With a wistful glance toward his green friend, he would be carried from the room. His parents noticed, but they didn't talk about it anymore. They were just happy their child was happy and babbled constantly, showing, they were sure, great intelligence. One day the plant was taken from his room for a new home on the old farmhouse's windowsill. After 3 long, crying-filled days, his mother said, "Maybe he misses the plant in his room. He did talk to it a lot. I think I'll put another one in his room to keep him company." "Rubbish," stated his father. But I can't sleep at night with him crying. I can't get any work done anymore because I'm too tired. I'm willing to try anything. Move the plant back, or get him a new plant." He picked up his briefcase and headed out the door to the Pontiac. The philodendron remained in its new home on the windowsill. Josh and the fern that his mother placed on the philodendron's old wooden table often had long conversations well into the night. When Josh turned 6, having no brothers and sisters, he began to wander the farm by himself, always saying hello to the trees, and the corn, and the soybeans, and especially the hollyhock bush that grew near the old machine shed. His grandmother had shown him how to make little people using a clothespin and the sweet-smelling flowers from the hollyhocks. Josh had been very excited with the flower people. He carried them into his room and tried to talk to them, but they didn't answer. The hollyhock bush later told him the flower people were dead once they were pulled from the bush. He never made another flower person. The hollyhock was a favorite of his and had always been friendly. Josh loved the farm and always felt much more comfortable in the company of plants than the cousins or the children of his parents' friends. Josh would ask them to play hide-and-go-seek, and then he would run and hide in the hollyhock bush and stay there long after everyone else was called in for dessert. At age 12, the black Pontiac carried him and his family to their new home in town. We're going to skip well ahead to chapter 6. Several things happen between the beginning, that backstory you heard. He goes to a new school and all the problems with going to a new school, meeting new friends. And the teacher in that class gives the class an assignment of coming up with questions to ask the older folks who lived in the assisted living home close to the school. The kids were going to go over and ask their questions and then write a report about the town that they lived in from the standpoint of the older folks. At this point in the story, in chapter 6, Josh is going over to Andy's house, as one of his new friends, for a sleepover in the backyard in a tent. Andy lives right next to a cornfield. And it's fall. The corn is getting ready to be cut down and turned into ears of corn and corn stalks. Chapter 6, Andy's sleepover. Remember, no talking to the bushes, joked Andy as he and Josh set up the tent in his backyard. The tent was closer to the house than it was to the cornfield. When's everybody else coming? Asked Josh, hammering a tent stake into the hard ground. In an hour or so. I'm surprised Brad's not already here. He really likes setting up tents for some reason. And with a grunt, the two boys pulled the canvas tight. That ought to do it. The weather's supposed to be good tonight. No wind or rain. Just a bit chilly. Josh arranged the rocks around the fire pit. I can't believe your folks let you have a campfire behind the house. We had one on the farm, but it was way out in the middle of the barnyard. Andy looked at Josh. Can you really talk to plants? I mean, you say things, and they say things back? Josh rearranged the rocks around the pit. Yeah, ever since I was a baby. Weird, huh? Yeah, weird. Andy pulled on the ropes to make sure they were tight. Then he sat back on his haunches and stared at Josh. What's it like? Are the plants always talking? Well, plants don't talk very loud. I really have to pay attention to hear them. I think I miss most of what they say. It's not like having a conversation with a person. It's like when the wind blows, I hear voices in it. Josh stood up and wiped his hands on his jeans. And they don't seem to talk much to each other. Andy stood up and glanced at the field. Weird. Do you talk to him with your mouth? Or just in your head? I'm not crazy, if that's what you think. I use my mouth. And I don't know how they talk, since they obviously don't have mouths. And I don't know how they hear either. I do have to use my ears, though. I had a fern once that would talk all night. I put a bag over it, but it got really upset. I eventually had to put my head under the pillow to get any sleep. Josh hefted his sleeping bag into the tent. Don't tell anyone else about this, okay? The guys already think I'm strange, and Brenda doesn't need anything else to talk about. Josh, we have to talk to you. Tomorrow's our last day. Andy saw Josh look at the field. What? Did the corn say something? Yeah, said it's going to be cut down tomorrow. Andy, Josh, Dana, and Brad dangled marshmallows over the campfire. Brad suddenly turned into a torch and splashed shadows on the withered corn stalks. Brad blew the marshmallow out like a candle. Just like I like 'em, whispered Brad, burnt to a crisp. Brad waved his marshmallow stick around, making the black blob on the end glow brightly. Hey, watch it, yelled Josh. If that thing flew into the field, it could start a fire. A dry old cornfield is a bonfire waiting to happen. Josh, bring them with you, said the rough voice of what the fern had called the old ones. You need to come now, before the corn is gone. The corn can lead you. Me too, laughed Josh, but I don't think there's any ghosts in there. Just a few critters and a bunch of plants. Dana looked up from the marshmallow he'd been trying to pull from the roasting stick. Oh, there's probably wolves and bears and elk and big giant hairy monsters, said Brad in his spookiest voice. Really? Asked Dana. The boys stared at him. Yeah, and killer bunnies and squirrels with knives. Come on, Dana, kidded Josh. It's just a cornfield. Hey, does anybody know any ghost stories? I know this one about a skeleton that killed a bunch of kids who were camping, said Brad. Why don't we skip that one, said Andy. How about the one about the old cat that my uncle once had? We only have a few hours. The farmer will come before sunup to cut us down. The old ones cannot lead you because they're too small. Please. Josh glanced at the field. Forget the stories, said Josh. If you want to be scared, why don't we go into the cornfield? There was a long silence, followed by a bit more silence. Josh looked around the circle. Andy was poking a stick into the fire. Brad was staring at the fire. Dana was knocking a dirt-covered marshmallow around with a stick. The fire crackled merrily, as if it was laughing at their discomfort. Bring them into the field with you if you must. We need to show you, rattled the corn. Josh stood. Well, I'm going to take a walk in the field. I like the field at night. If you want to come, follow me. If you don't want to come, burn another marshmallow. I'll be back soon. I'm coming with you. Andy stood up. I've been afraid of that field for too long. With a shuffling of feet and a couple of grunts in agreement, Dana and Brad stood up and slowly followed Josh towards the field. All of them flicked on their flashlights and scanned the field. The stalks danced in the light and the shadows. Hurry! You must hurry! No fence separated Andy's yard from the tall, brittle stalks of corn, so the boys were able to step easily into the field. The corn brushed their clothes and reached out to grab their hands and feet. Josh heard the voice to the left. This way. Come on, let's go this way. Josh cut across a couple of rows of corn, with the boys following as silently as they could behind him. The beams of light bounced harmlessly from stalk to stalk. Try not to knock down any of the stalks. They're going to be harvested tomorrow. How do you know that? Asked Brad. The corn told him, said Andy, in such a matter-of-fact way that Josh was startled. Brad nodded, as if he accepted the explanation without question. I was looking at some old pictures my grandpa took of the field from a plane. I know there's a clearing over that way. He nodded in the direction Josh had been heading. I'm lost already. Every direction looks the same, said Dana. Shh, I'm listening, whispered Josh. Listening? Snapped Dana. To what? To the corn. Listen to it rattle. See? It rattled over there. It wants us to go that way. Josh once again stepped carefully through the standing stalks. As he did, he heard a loud snap and motioned to the boys to stop. They stood silently for a minute, listening. What's the matter? Whispered Andy. I heard something, whispered Josh. Man, you're really weirding me out. This is worse than the worst ghost story. I want to go back to the tent. Shh, listen. There was a definite crack as a cornstalk was pushed down. There's something in the field with us, Brad whispered. It's the ghost of the cornfield. It's a monster. It's a killer bunny, Josh finished. Could you be quiet so we can figure out what it is? A ghost wouldn't snap a cornstalk. It would just come up right behind you without even being heard. Oh, thanks. That really helps. Brad glanced over his shoulder. There are no ghosts or monsters in here. Just corn and some critters. It's probably a raccoon. Stand still. In his mind, Josh crossed his fingers. To be honest, the noise had him worried as well, and he knew it wasn't a raccoon. After a moment, the noise continued, and it was getting louder. Josh could hear Andy breathing deeply as he tried to control himself. "Josh, I'm heading back." "Which way to the house?" Josh held his fingers to his lips. "No, I want to go home. Which way?" "Just follow this row of corn that way. It'll take you out to the edge." Josh watched as Andy followed. He was followed closely by Brad and Dana as they crunched their way through the field, away from him. Soon, he couldn't hear them at all. "Josh, come on. You need to follow us. You are close." "There's something in the field with me." "What is it?" "Two girls. They're standing 3 rows from you." "Why are they in here? Did you call them too?" "No, we did not call them. One comes to the field and talks like you. She says she is following you." "She can hear you too?" whispered Josh. "Yes, but she is following you, not us. Please, we must move on." "No, who is she? I'm not taking another step until I know who is in this field with me. So far, my count is 3 friends who are running away. You, some plants called the Old Ones, some girl, and myself. And someone else." "Who?" demanded Josh. "Alice," whispered the corn. Josh's blood froze. "Alice who? Is this the girl Alice who disappeared in this field a long time ago?" "Yes." "I'm out of here." Josh turned to follow his friends. "I want nothing to do with the ghost. Tell her I don't want to talk to her, and I definitely don't want to see her." As he walked towards Andy's yard, Josh heard the complaints of the corn and the raspy voices of the Old Ones. And that's as far as we're going to go right now. If you want to find out what happens and who the ghost is, you're going to have to read the book. Thank you for listening this far, and I hope you like the book.